didn't. That was it. And
no, you know what? It's good enough. Stuff like that. Sometimes it's just better to leave where it is. You know what I mean? All right, folks. Welcome to FMA discussion. This is episode 52. Tonight we are featuring Maestro Brian and Maestro Chad, both going to discuss modern Arnis. Hello, guys. How are you?
Hey, what's going on, Dean?
Good. Good. I want to thank you both for coming on and all that. I appreciate it. Taking your time to do this. So Tuesday, when we were talking a little while we were doing the test run there. Sounds like both of you guys are each getting back to teaching in some shape or capacity.
Yep.
How about you? What say you, Brian? What's your teaching right now? Is it basically house or what's going on?
Yeah, now out of the home, and if not very close by, there's a handful of schools that I usually deal with. They're still just doing what they have to do. They're the new way of doing classes for now, so they're just not ready for any extra activities. There will be some seminars, reopening type seminars, if you will, to support them, but they're not even ready for that yet.
No, I know. It's like every, the thing is, well, I can only speak on Connecticut, of course, like yourself, but it seems like, every school, they're kind of, within, the parameters of whether it's the distance or they're saying a blue squares, but everybody, as far as their, I guess, comfortability or their comfort levels doing things a little differently, which I get, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially if the bulk of your student base is kids. I mean, that opens up a whole nother can of worms,
Amen.
Adults is one thing, but man, if your majority of your stuff is kids, that's how about you, Maestro Chad? What say you? You're
we're doing classes in my backyard and Zooming most of them for online students. There's definitely even people in Miami who just don't want to interact yet. And even some of the people who come to class, they wear masks. There's definitely a fear element out there.
Still.
We're trying to break through that and start moving again.
Yeah, I know. I mean, right. Here's the thing. We got to start moving again. It's just, you know what I mean? We're going to do sit. Yeah.
Yep.
I'm with you. Right. We can't just, I understand we can't be reckless, but at the same time, can't just live in a box. It's just
gone.
Yeah. All right. So then, okay. When, of course, I definitely want to revisit your background, Maestro Brian. I mean, it's been a while since you've been on, so I don't think people are going to so much mind hearing yours again. But just, Maestro Chad, what's your first? It sounds like your first FMA exposure was, in fact, Master Presas or modern.
Yeah, my tempo Tai Chi teacher in Philadelphia, he integrated modern Arnis into all of his classes. His name was Tom Updegrove, and Joe Bridenstine brought Remy into Philly a lot for seminars, and so within a few months of me training with Tom, he had Remy into the school, and I did my first seminar, and I was hooked. I was sold.
So you were living so obviously you were living in Pennsylvania at the time?
Yeah, I grew up in central Pennsylvania and moved to Philly when I was 17 for college, and that's kind of when I started doing FMA.
So at 17. So when you started at that age, was it similar circumstances to Maestro Brian, where you were taking a traditional art and the teacher brought in the FMA, or was yours different?
I mean, Tom integrates everything. I don't know any other way to explain it, but then, other than it's same kind of innovation you see in Jeet Kune Do, in the sense that we would practice Kempo and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Judo and FMA, but he would just be flowing it all together. And so when I started asking, hey, what's that double stick drill from? He's like, oh, that's from Arnis. We're bringing Master Presas in for a seminar next month. And so I was like, I want to see that.
Okay. All right. So we're definitely going to get back to that. So, Maestro Brian, again, just for folks who maybe didn't see the first episode and all that, because I thought yours was pretty relevant because of your age and the year. I thought that was. I mean, so
what the?
So, what say you, sir, on that?
Late 81, early 82. I don't know if I did I think I did the homework just before our last interview. Grandmaster Presas first set foot Connecticut, Massachusetts in 1981 with the lady in Valley Women's Martial Arts. That's where he met up with Sifu Lee Lowry at the time. And that was it. Those two got together. They were in a good way. They were thick as thieves. And from that time forward, Sifu eventually became professor within Kempo, Lowry. He was bringing in the professor on the regular, and they were very, very close friends. And I showed up. I was already training under Sifu Lee in 81 in Kempo, Middletown. And once he started bringing in the professor, that was the end of it. I've been doing it ever since. The camps were early in the 80s and mid 80s. They were in West Virginia, but eventually there was another strong following, like Chad had said, with Joe Bridenstine in Philly. Eventually the camps worked their way up to New Hampshire for a year or two in this area. Then Richard Roy, Massachusetts, for 10 years throughout the 90s. Professor passes, and I've been holding them for about 19 years now. But how lucky am I? I grew up a mile from the Middletown Kempo School. I met Sifu Lee in July 81. Amazing martial artist, and that was my Kempo training. He started training under a professor, so I'm 52, and it's now 39 years. I can't believe it.
Just for the folks who are, I know the year to me, some might not be surprised, but living in Connecticut, 81 for FMA. It's just if you were living in Connecticut, you would know what I mean. It's a far cry from Stockton. So what? Just for the folks though, just the magnitude and significance of this. How? Just for people who might not have seen the first one. How old were you again?
When I first started?
Correct.
14.
14. Wow. So you've been out since 14. Wow. That's again, you might have been the young, because I'm sure you had classmates, but I'm sure they're not all still doing it. I'm sure there's only a handful, right?
Yeah, most of the individuals that took to it were older. When I say older, maybe only by 5 years. Not a lot of the teenagers took to it or stayed with it. But yes, I do have a couple of students that are still from the 80s that are still with me.
That's fantastic. Wow.
But, keep in mind that they were regulars at the mass camps. And even though he passed, they were already over 10 years into it, if not more, and they weren't about to stop. So most guys have over 30 years in modern arts. Yeah.
Good on you. Fantastic. So, Maestro Chad, okay, so you're at this place, Philadelphia. He's bringing him in. What was the attraction? What made you hooked? Yeah, was it just because you've never seen stuff like this before, or was there something about his personality?
No, I've been training martial arts since I was 12, and I met Remy when I was 17. So, I had already had a little bit of experience in martial arts, and when I saw Remy, he was saying something that I had always been interested in, which is everything is the same. He said that all the time. It's all the same. It's all the same. And I always had this thing of, even though I was studying Kempo and Tai Chi and all these other martial arts, it was all the same stuff. If you look for the similarities in movement and you look at the way things moved, there's only so many patterns, and you're just timing and range and those kind of things to perfect it all. But what Remy really had was he had that ability to transition range, to change from striking to locking, from to throwing, and it was all just one smooth thing. And even though he was a black belt in Aikido, he never told us any of the locks were from Aikido. He just blended everything that we were doing. Same way that Grandmaster Kakoi, blend all of his Escrito locks, with all of his sparring. And it just shows that they understood those concepts of those other martial arts enough to reformulate it and bring it into what they were doing. That was what I was attracted to. Same thing with Dan Inosanto, same thing with Edgar Solite, is that they just all seemed to, be able to do that, to adjust their timing, adjust their range, to do whatever it was that they were interested in doing. Wherever they wanted to apply themselves.
No. Maestro Brian, anything you'd like to add to that?
Chad hit the nail on the head. Professor said it is all the same. What I thought that meant was within Arnis, all the years he was alive. Now that he's gone, it's been, I don't know when the light came on for me, but since he's passed, now I truly realize he meant all martial arts. There's only but so many moves the body can do, whether it's Tai Chi or
anatomically speaking, right? There's only so many,
all connected.
Yep.
So it took me a little while, but when you watched him teach, he'd show you a technique 5 years later, 10 years later, same technique looks different. And the Western mind is very analytical, and he had a type B type of brain where he's like, well, what do you look at him and you ask him, and even if you're polite, when you call him on it, hey, professor, that technique is different. Yeah, he's not really going to give you a warm, fuzzy conversation. He's going to be like, what are you talking about? That's the technique.
Yeah.
But you remember the one from 10 years ago.
Oh, because evolution, what have you.
He's evolving. And conversations were usually short-lived, and it resulted in the individual tapping.
What do you mean it doesn't work?
You asked the question, you got demonstrated on.
I would be the guy, would be like in the third row back, like making sure I could see, but not making sure my face could be seen.
He was like that constantly. So after a while, he watched and learned and listened, but it was a constant state of evolving with him.
Yeah.
He'd watch the room and he'd see somebody's got some skills. He'd give everybody something to work on, but he's watching that one guy over there or that guy over there, and he's just pulling from everybody.
Yeah.
And another one of his Remy sayings goes along with all that. You are already there. He would
I'm sorry, what was that again?
You are already, when we would be in the midst of movement and we'd be he could see us trying to figure out what we were supposed to do next. He's like, you are already there, because he's like, he would see us in that transition spot, and we would just have to stop for a second and go, oh yeah, that, boom, and we were already there. And so that has a lot to do with that whole idea of it's all the same, because you can start seeing those similarities, then those transition points, those reference points, they all start to just pop out, even during sparring, even during live action drills, you're able to pull some of that stuff out. So
you're trying to see it. Okay. No, well done. Well put. Thank you. So just let me just see here, because obviously you're both your first experience with that, which is fantastic. What I want to get to now, if you guys okay with it, is just his again, before I want to get into the impact obviously he had on the Western world and what have you, but what I guess before we get to that, I want to get to how you guys actually met and all that before we get on the impact of Western world. So let's take this route. You guys obviously met some years back. Let's get into that. So Maestro Brian, where was the location where you guys met?
It was referred to as the East Coast Modern Arnis camp, or we just called it the Mass camp. It was always South Hadley, Massachusetts, the Mount Holyoke College for Women.
Okay.
A non-air conditioned gym where and everything had to be inside. He never took us outside except there was 1 2-minute stretch. He took us outside. It was just more of a private duty. But every year, third weekend in July, it was a pilgrimage up there. Never missed any of them. We had maybe 50 to 60 people, Chad?
Yeah, some years it was close to 100.
Wow.
That many? Okay.
Yeah. I remember that one year the dorms was like packed.
So
So I mean,
people would stay at the dorms. Oh, okay.
yeah, I mean, we would usually partner up in the dorms, and that sometimes that whole dorm would fill up. We'd all eat at the cafeteria, the food service. It was a whole deal. Full days too.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I went to a lot of camps, like Inosanto camps, like at the Kevin Seaman camps up in Cortland. And they were always Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but Remi's camps were always Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and not Thursday like evening, like Thursday, 9 a.m. You know, we train all day Thursday, all day Friday, all day Saturday, all day Sunday.
Really? So, wow, how nice of that college that let you guys for them
It was summer.
to utilize the dorms. Wow.
It was summer, so it was empty.
Yeah. No, exactly. I'm just, right. When you think of it that way. What year again are we, as far as you guys meeting? What year, generally speaking, what year about?
I'm fuzzy. Mid-90s?
I think the first year what was the first year of the Massachusetts camp? I know I went 3 years.
The first one would probably, I'm guessing, I could be off by 1 year. I want to say the first year was 90, and I think my first one was 91.
Okay, because I know I tested for my black belt at the 90 camp, and I think that was my second camp. So I think there might have been one in 89.
Okay.
Maybe.
So 89 sounds like maybe that was the first one.
Well, I think.
Boyd,
okay. And then you're saying 91 is about when you guys met?
Yeah. Probably the first one.
Oh, 90?
He was already up there, and I as soon as I found Remi and Dan Inosanto and all those guys, I started traveling every weekend.
Oh, you were doing okay. Yeah. Wow.
I was in college, but I was known as the antisocial guy who left every weekend because I was always driving
to go to the seminar. Wow. So that first camp. All right. So let's all right. So you guys meet there, and it sounds like from that meeting at that camp, you guys obviously kind of formed a bond and stayed in touch. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, for sure.
And there's many people still from that era. Some of them are still my students, but I can't tell you how many people that we still stay in touch, whether they're active or not.
Yep.
It was not a lot of people, it seemed, and I'm not speaking for anybody, but we didn't get a lot of long distance out of staters, because you would have camps in Texas. You'd have them in roughly the Midwest, in Texas, maybe Illinois and Michigan. So all kind of traveled to those. And then Dan Anderson had the one in the Pacific Northwest in Oregon.
Oh, so they were geographically placed where you didn't need to necessarily travel. Okay.
I traveled corridor.
Yeah.
I did the camps in Massachusetts, but I also did Erwin Carmichael's camps down in North Carolina. My other instructor, Billy Bryant, had Remi into Maryland a few times. Maryland. So I mean, like I said, I was trying to find Remi wherever he was.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, what a clever idea. Like you have, you do these camps, you do them geographically where you're going to get people. Yeah, that's clever. Wow.
A lot of the attendees were local via a few states, not necessarily.
Yeah. No. Obviously, good planning.
I think different than a lot of the other FMA instructors when they came to this country and they started teaching. I mean, Remi marketing genius, because he decided that the group that he wanted to target was this massive group of karate practitioners in the United States. And so
I'm going to get into that.
He tailored a lot of things to make it comfortable for them. And that really, really, really helped Modern Arnis grow, because the camps are a lot of times were filled with different karate practitioners who wanted to add something to what they were doing, and I think that was a brilliant way of going about it. And nobody else has done anything like that.
Now we're definitely going to touch on that because again, yeah, obviously the significance of that and what it created and has done for the community is brilliant. Okay, let's just, I don't want to leave the camps quite yet. So just, I know it was a long time ago, but just for the viewers who maybe would like to kind of get an idea, what entailed and what was going on and what was taught and yada, yada, and so forth. So just generally speaking, like, what were the activities? You know what I mean?
Well, I'll say one thing, and I'll let Chad fill you in. Saturday night was almost a slugfest after dinner.
Slugfest.
Oh, we almost went to blows he's laughing because he knows. Every Saturday, every year after dinner, it was años. 5 empty hand and 4 stick. He didn't really get into 6, 7, and 8 until the later years. But
wow.
The old man on the mountain sitting on the bleachers, watching all this chaos. Everybody's asking him for clarification. Everybody was right. No one was wrong. Beat each other senseless, because when you put somebody out there from Kempo versus Tai Chi versus Tang Soo Do, you're going to get different application. And he said, "You were all right. You were all correct." He would not go against anybody. And he's sitting there laughing so hard, he's working his abs, and we're ready to kill each other. And this happened every single year on Saturday night.
So Saturday night was the chosen night.
That was
fight night.
Well, and Sunday was usually the test. Sunday was a 3 to 4 hour board test, and the whole camp had to participate.
Yeah.
Well, everybody's kind of getting and they're shot.
I remember a few people hanging in the dorms on Saturday night and not coming over to the training hall, and he would send somebody back to the dorm, go get them. It's mandatory that they're here, and they would be brought over to the training
They need to show up.
Yeah. It was kind of like mass corporal punishment, but I wouldn't have traded it for anything.
Nope.
But it was and you were toast by then. You could kind of see everybody's eyes getting glossy by sometime Saturday morning, because 2 full days of him, because he'll show you a technique and then he'll show you 3 variations.
2 full days of anything. You know what I mean? You guys are talking 4 days. Like I remember, like Jenny, you guys were, we're talking 1990. So you guys were in your 20s?
Yeah.
Okay. I remember going to like my first Seance Sama way back, and it was 2 days, and I was fried. I was shot.
Yeah.
Like I was shot. Like like the next few days, I was like, so yeah. Those camps, man, it just the mental drain, and
you can see it in my notebooks, because it's like, Thursday these really nice notes, and then Friday pretty good. Then by Saturday it's like all scribbles and like shorthand. Sunday there's usually just a question mark. I just leave Sunday blank and just
question
whatever.
Why am I still here?
It was a good break from the actual training aspect on Saturday evenings, but it was always forms, and it was in a very fun way. But
all right, let's get the breakdown for the folks. Okay, Thursday, you're going there. Is it kind of meet and greet, registered, or?
Well, not really. Get in there and train.
Yeah, jump in and train.
You'll get each other on the floor.
All right. So, were there days that were geared towards certain things, or no?
No, totally random.
So
okay. If you look at some of the stuff Dr. Barber's written about modern Arnis, I definitely agree with him that there's certain what I would call pillars of modern Arnis that he would float through, what he called the flow, Cruzada, Palace his passing drills. Any of his translations. That's one of the things that and that kind of answers Jack's question in the chat.
I wanted to get to that actually.
Everything that Remy taught us with a weapon, he showed us how to translate to empty hands, or to translate with whatever we would have in our hand. And that's one of the things that everybody, at camp, I think, when people call FMA stick fighting systems, it's a big misnomer, because it's really weapon fighting systems. You're learning how to fight with whatever you have in your hand, be that a frying pan, garden hoe, whatever you have, that becomes your weapon, and and hopefully be able to use the principles you've learned with that weapon.
Yeah. All right. You know what? That was a good. Let me let's just take a pause here. I just want to welcome those who Andres, hey, Eric O'Brien, yes, the history is hello to on Jack. Thank you. Julia's essentially is this essentially where the Gushu Arnis hybrid art came from?
Yeah, the triple threat seminars. He did a whole bunch of those at Jim and Judy Clapp's Kempo school in Delaware, where it was Remy Presas, George Dillman, and Wally J. And so they would just rotate through. And so one big group would be with the professor, and then they would go with Wally, and then they would go with George. And then
sounds like that.
I mean, we all got to cross train in all of those things. I mean, there's so much of Wally's small circle in what I do. I just got to do a camp with Leon J in Atlanta before the shutdown, and and it was just great to hook up with him again and reminisce about all the small circle jiu-jitsu stuff, because that was a big part of what we did. And it was great to hear Leon. He mentioned something too very interesting about the professor and Wally, is that everybody thinks of Wally as this guy who does all these lock flows, and until Wally met the professor, he was doing more like single locks. He was doing more classical jiu-jitsu stuff. The professor's the one who showed him how all those locks flowed together and how he could use, different locks all together. And Leon confirmed that when we were in Atlanta. He was like, "Oh yeah, professor's the one who taught him the flow." Wow. So that's an interesting piece of history there that a lot of people don't know.
No, I for one didn't know that. Okay, Maestro Brian. Okay, so really registration on Thursday. You guys are going in, you're jumping right into training. I'm going to assume the same take place Friday, Saturday. You got your fight night. Sunday, ice packs and awards ceremony, or what's?
Sunday was all testing.
Testing. Yeah. Okay, testing. Okay.
Basically, you had 2 workouts on Thursday, minimum 2 workouts, 3 hours each. Friday, 3 full sessions of 3 hours. Saturday, another 3 full sessions. Of course, after dinner was just forms. Sunday was usually people just looking to test and get out of there because they've been
fried. You're fried 4 days. You're fried.
Sweating. It took 10 years for the university to tell us there's fans in the ceiling. Feel free to use them. So yeah, but it was a full 4-day schedule. But the meet and greet, no. The first workout say was at 2 p.m. on
meet and greet was hitting sticks together.
Hey, make your introductions and go. And then we ate together. There was a very nice conference center where we ate. It was one of the nicer ones in terms of a university. So that was where we got to sit down and mingle.
Oh, you can kind of meet other people, what have you.
It's scattered for meals. It was all in one area.
Oh, that's nice. Well, it sounds like they were well planned, well formatted.
Sure.
Is that what you guys? I know you guys were young then, but did you guys get that feeling then that they were well orchestrated, well planned?
For sure.
It seemed like it. I mean, there was he did as many as 10 a year throughout the world, throughout the country.
He was seasoned at playing them and creating them, and okay, makes sense. Okay.
I mean, I think the administration of the camp was well planned. I think a lot of times Remy taught whatever he wanted to teach. I mean, he might have had a lesson plan, but I'm sure that lesson plan changed on a whim. Right, because right. I could see sometimes that he would follow certain lines, like, okay, people are really getting this. Let's keep doing this, attention. So yeah, I mean that happened, and sometimes you would revisit certain things. I mean, I was following him to a lot of different seminars, and so I got to see repeats of a lot of the stuff. But I know some people who were only catching him in Philly. It's like, well, they wouldn't see that skill again for another year or so.
Oh, until he came back around, maybe.
Right, I might catch that skill again, in a couple months at another seminar or something. So, I mean, there was that, and it also depended if he was, those, tappy or something. If you weren't there on that day, you might have missed out on that. Maybe you got, the basic striking patterns or the cruzada or, translations. So yeah, it really just depended when you showed up and what he was doing that day. I mean, I remember the camps that he did at Michael Bates in Philadelphia. He did a lot of locking. Somebody had sent me a whole bunch of photos of me doing all these locks from the lock flow on me from that, one of those particular camps. And yeah, I remember, I mean, we did a lot of empty hand and we did a lot of transition into, those locking skills and takedown skills. So yeah, just it depended where you were.
Right, and what mood is. So Maestro Brian, again, I know it's a long time ago, but just for the interest of the viewers who are trying to just get a better idea what these camps encompassed and what was going on in them. And I know each day he did something different. He really didn't have a format, and of course it would change on a whim. But like, pretty much covered everything: single, double.
One major change in the '80s, it was all classic and traditional Arnis.
That's right.
In the early '90s, he released what we call the left side.
Left side.
And he really started to push the tappy and the counter for counter and the solo baston one-on-one. So if you were with him in the '80s, all of a sudden he says switch hands, and you're like a deer in the headlights. You're like, what? First released, in essence, this left side concept. It didn't stick because you're training the other side of the brain, and it literally did not catch on. He got upset, but I think he got upset with himself.
Maybe the correct way.
So he kind of shut it down, not for long, and then he kind of went at it again, and then it caught on like wildfire.
Oh, okay. Huh.
But
what was the difference?
I think he needed people to have a base.
Yeah.
I don't think everybody had the base that he wanted when he was trying to teach it the first time. So he built the base, and then
some years went by, more experience.
So if you started in the '80s, you got single Sinawali, you got your flow drill, your 6 count, you got your full basic disarms, you got your X counters. If you started in the early '90s, you may have actually started at a camp where some of it was geared for the tappy.
Oh, and that could have been potentially maybe for somebody just overwhelming, somebody maybe just jumping in.
Oh yeah, because he was constantly
okay.
Getting time off from work was easier. Everyone had a little extra money. People were traveling and dropping $1,000 on a camp between travel, a camp,
economy.
You're seeing that in this day and age, and you're seeing 2-day camps, 3-day camps. Back then, it was literally like Chad said, 4 days, and he did.
I can't remember the last time I've heard of a 4-day camp.
I think there might be one left within the world of modern Arnis that I know of. It's a one.
Really? Okay.
All 3. I switched to 2 years ago.
And just with everything going on, I mean, the moment these people are getting older that were going back then, the time frame you're referencing now, families, jobs. I mean, 4 days, man, that's tough. That's tough.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. So 80s.
I was a college student, so I left.
And then, but he would do a lot of different material at every single.
So, but basically, obviously, he's covering blunt, whether it's single or double. He's covering some type of empty hand, sounds like.
Oh, yeah.
And okay. No, I mean that.
The other thing is that there was a testing format and a form, but sometimes you may not necessarily get everything from the curriculum. If you're testing for your black belt at that camp, he may not necessarily cover everything at that camp. But by then, you've got a couple of years in. But there were times during testing where, be it Richard or myself or somebody, didn't matter who, one of the black belts, would show the technique just to kind of rattle their brain because they're either fried or he may not have covered that one piece at the camp.
Oh, okay.
A little kind of get them in the zone, but most workouts were every workout covered something different within the camps, because you got 3 full hours, and that's a lot of material. Times a day.
I can't even. That I'm telling you right now, I would have been comatose.
Well, that's the other thing about those camps. We didn't just train morning and afternoon. There was a after dinner every evening, another 3-hour, 6 to 9 or 7 to 10. So it was 3 hours.
So generally speaking, and I'm just gonna pick hours out of a window here. So let's just say kind of like you want 8 to 11, maybe 1 to 4, and then you're talking about maybe like 6 to 9 or something.
Oh yeah, minimum 3 hours a day.
Wow, I would have been 911.
Yeah, it's about 25 hours of instruction per camp plus the test.
Oh yeah,
he was
amazingly dynamic though. So just hanging out in the same room with him, he charged all the time.
Well, no. I mean,
he would see everybody kind of getting lazy, and he'd be like, "Okay, let's get the sticks." And he'd tell us to.
Yeah, he probably was seeing like, "Hey, if I don't get these guys doing something, man, they're gonna all turn into freaking pumpkins."
Yep. He was at every single workout, the whole thing.
Yeah. Wow, that's man. I tell you though, if you're young though, I could see how it would be like a good time. Like if you didn't have like dependents at home, you had to worry about. Like you just knew you could just go there and just focus on those 4 days, not worrying about anybody at home or anything like that. And you're young, I can imagine that being fun. I mean, yeah. So when I think about it in that light, I guess I'm looking from the light of my age now.
Well, he was, let's see, in 1936.
You're trying to live vicariously through our camps, Dean.
I am exactly doing that right now because I never got the opportunity to do anything like that.
He was in his mid-40s into his mid-50s during that time.
Yeah. I tell you, man, that's not at any age.
55 and up.
Those camps?
55 and up for the mass camps. But he paced himself. But he was at every single workout.
Wow. So how many? Okay. So he obviously these are happening once a year, but so he's going. So in no particular order where they start, I guess. But it sounds like he's like if he's doing the one in Mass, then he's doing one in North Carolina, and then maybe Midwest.
He had a seminar every weekend.
Yeah.
No, I understand. He was definitely hitting the pavement, but as far as the camps are concerned, it's not like geographically he had them kind of
Mass, North Carolina, Michigan, Texas.
Okay.
All those were annual.
Bruce did the Florida. Yep.
Florida. Oregon. So you're talking
Illinois.
That's at least 8 a year.
So when he would do them though, but I guess what I'm saying, would he pick a time frame at the same, like around summer to do all of them, throughout the country?
No. At Texas, I remember. Well, if you and Chad may be able to clarify, there was sometimes 2 in Texas.
Yeah,
Texas is huge. Yeah.
Mass was always July. There was a winter camp a couple times with Dwayne Ranieri in Harrisburg, in Pennsylvania.
Yeah,
a couple. They would be the same time every year, but I couldn't tell you when was North Carolina, Chad? When I don't remember. I never got down there.
I think it was late August.
That sounds about right. It was after mass camp.
After mass.
Okay. Yeah, I guess what I was thinking maybe, and again, not that he had to do it this way. I'm just thinking like, okay, I'm gonna go. I'm in Mass. I'm gonna bounce down to North Carolina. I'm gonna shoot over Texas. Kind of.
He would do a seminar on a Saturday, and maybe have to catch a flight to get to the next one on Sunday. He was not strategic in that sense, and we tried to tell him in the later years. We said, do Mass and New Hampshire or Connecticut and Massachusetts.
Yeah, right.
He didn't want to worry about it. And then what he would do is, as each camp came, he would be chopping up at each seminar leading up to that camp. So the camps were fairly well attended. But if you looked at his calendar that he kept in his back pocket, it was one of those, book calendars. 42 weekends a year, most years, he was on the road. He took, whether it was December, January, or January, February off for 2 months, he didn't pick up a stick. But the other 10, flat out.
He's just,
walked.
man, that's wow.
For,
That's a
25 years.
that's not an easy schedule by any means. By any means. Well, I might have some more questions. Let me just run down this quick, guys. All right, Jamie, amazing stuff. Absolutely. Tomas, cool history. Absolutely. Steve, Chris, the 4-day camp sound like a lot of fun. Yeah. Brian, I'm late. What I miss? Just the intro and all that, Brian. We're pretty much getting into the good stuff. Kali's Zerd Camps 2, Kali Center. I think Paul, Bikini Detergent there. Okay. I'm just made if I didn't miss a question here. Is how to learn. Okay, no, maybe no. Okay. Oh, okay. All right. There were no questions. Okay. So all right. So wow, I just can't believe that at any age that kind of schedule is wow. That's tough. And now, so when so the first camp starting around 89 or so, he did him up to his death.
Well, I don't know if Chad can clarify this, but the first camps were in West Virginia, and I want to say it was mid-'80s.
Yeah, I think so.
And those were
first camp mid-'80s, and they went up till when?
I don't know.
I mean, he did a camp the year before he died in Florida. I was at that one with.
What year? Yeah, he was.
That would have been 2000.
2000. So basically, he could have been down for 15 years, right? Chance could be, right?
Well, I'll tell you this. If I'm not mistaken, it takes 10 years of living here to get your citizenship, right?
Yeah.
Okay. At the West Virginia camps, and I was not present, but this is what I got directly from Professor Lowery. Next thing Professor Lowery knows, Professor's leaving to go back to California to get sworn in. So he came here in 75 or 76. So fast forward 10 years, he's at the West Virginia camps. He leaves and has Lee do the teaching so he can go home and get sworn in.
Okay.
Your mid-'80s. And then I think, I don't know when the West Virginia camps stopped. Maybe we can check with Michael Bates and see if he has a better idea, Chad. But
yeah, I'm not sure.
Camp in New Hampshire a couple of years, and then it turned into the mass camp.
Yep.
But when did all the other camps start? I don't know.
Oh, no. Just a general idea. That's yeah. No, that's
with Dan Anderson in the late '80s doing a camp out there, but I don't know what year that started.
Okay. I know. I mean, just
you're right. I think the West Virginia camp was 85, 86.
Yep.
And that was that sounds like maybe the first one. Then it sounds like he worked his way up to Massachusetts. And okay. So all right. So you guys obviously you meet at the camp and all that. Was your guys' contact pretty much through the camps, or did you guys see each other outside the camps?
Yeah, I saw him at a couple other seminars. I mean, again, like I said, I was traveling like a madman. So I mean, I popped in wherever I could. Mark Klein's school in New Jersey. Anything up that way in New Hampshire, Connecticut, Massachusetts.
Oh, you were okay. You were on the move. Okay.
Yeah.
I stayed pretty much north of Pennsylvania and northeast.
Yep.
Until the mid-'90s, and then I started just kind of going everywhere. But I kind of stayed regional, just because a little young. Yeah.
I had the
opportunity.
Just one thing I'm getting from the one thing I'm getting from these camps and what they did collectively for the whole group, regards where you were taking Marta and Nice, where and all that was just obviously that had to directly or indirectly, I'm sure with purpose, sounds like it created a sense of unity, among and all that.
Oh yes.
What can you guys? Sounds like I'm correct in that.
Yeah, it was definitely a community. We all felt, connected and privileged to be training with the professor. So, it was one of those things. the group is smaller now for sure, because there's not all those people are still training. So it's like, it's a select group, and yeah, I mean, when we were talking about that at the last Hall of Fame camp in Philly, Brian, it's like, there isn't a whole lot of people out there who train with the professor anymore.
Stuff like that. The person dies, and some people, they just give it. You know what I mean? It has a different effect, I guess, on people. It just, you know what I mean? Unfortunately, yeah. Okay, so all right, just again, this now I want to start just touch on the impact. Obviously, not on the world, but also just for you guys as well. Let's before we take on the world and what he did for the Western culture and the Western aspect of the world, as far as what he brought and what he spread and what have you, and the way he did it, which I definitely want to get into, because I think that's incredibly genius on his part, and all that. But like, so Maestro Brian, just I think it could be as quick as you guys want, whatever. Impact he's had on you personally, martial arts speaking, business, whatever you like to share with us.
Hands down, the most accomplished, I shouldn't say accomplished, the most amazing martial artist that I've come in contact with. And I've had the honor of training and attending seminars by some pretty amazing people. Sifu Richard Bustillo, Wally J. Professor Presas, let me tell you something. I have not yet seen another Filipino, although Bobby Taboada will get you shaking. But unbelievable skills. When he walked in the room, you didn't need to know he was the one. You knew when he walked in the room. He had that energy that he gave off.
Yeah. That aura, huh?
That aura, yeah. He could electrify the whole room. And yet he figured out, and he would remember your name year to year, the whole group.
Yeah, that's a good quality to have, man, because people love that when you remember their name.
I think we talked last time. Kind of militant in the 80s and the 90s. As he's getting older, he's getting softer.
Yep, you did mention that. Yep.
So I got to see here, literally, and of course I'm biased, like anybody would be with 20 years under him. Best in the world. And yet he's as humble as they come.
Yeah.
Personable. He ate at Michigan camp one year, and I finished before him. He finished before me. And we were just hanging out, just the two of us. I don't know, that usually doesn't happen. There's usually a group of us. He goes to leave. He takes my tray with his to the whatever, the counter. And I'm like, wait, that's backwards.
Yeah.
But here's your grandmaster takes your tray away. So he knew how to make things very personable. And
nice small touches, huh?
Yeah. And there were sometimes he says, you come to Victoria to shoot the videos, but you must leave the ticket for your wife's meeting of dinner certificate. It's something nice for her because you're with me for a week.
That's nice.
But at the same time, he had that sense of humor where he would say, Dean, you will come to my next camp? Yes, sir. You will come to my room. I have something for you. You're one of his senior students, and you're thinking, this is it. The clouds are going to part. You're being summoned by the man. Well, you get to his room, and he hands you a bag of dirty laundry and says, would you make sure this is clean and bring it to the next camp? He did that to the masters.
So he pulled out to me, man. I'm like, you know what? I got to take this. They got me. I'm good. I'm gonna own it. They got me. I'm good.
He was his sense of humor was amazing, but unbelievable skills, and yet to see him continue to evolve and thank us for teaching him, because he would learn at every camp, which was kind of a little over my head at the time, being so young. But on a personal level, to be that successful and that intense, and yet be that personable.
Yeah.
They often ask me, man, you travel, you do this, you do that. I'm like, yeah. I said, you have no idea who I train under. And the example he set for us, I said, I got a long way to go.
Yeah. Right, the forever journey, right?
Yeah. So even on that, it's so many different ways. And you'll hear this from a lot of his students. The pace that he set, the tone that he set, the intensity, and yet he would tell you the whole time, you must relax. If you want to learn, you must relax. You come see me at this next camp. And Chad will tell you he had a lot more experience hitting multiple events in succession if you really wanted to learn from him, you hit 2 or 3 camps a year with a few seminars, and your level of skill and your understanding went through the roof. Yep. Versus once or twice a year, because you started to see the same techniques and you started to get what he called the connection.
Okay. Okay.
Really took off.
Oh, I like that. The connection. Okay.
That was one of, if there's one word, standalone, that's the word with him is connection.
Yeah, I like that connection. Huh.
It's that how do you say, that cohesiveness amongst techniques and drills. That's the glue that kept it all together, and this is the first time I'm hearing that he actually gave the flow concept to Wally J.
Okay.
Because I know a lot of his locks from Wally. There's a lot of Wally J and Remy Presas, and Professor would never teach you pressure points. He would say, if you want to learn the pressure points, you go see George. That's not my business. Don't think, he just didn't teach it.
Yeah. Right. It's not that you didn't have them. Right. Of course. Yeah.
So many things, but yes, on and off the mat, personal, but on the mat, it was that constant evolving, and that you're never, in a good way, you're never going to reach the top.
Yeah. You're always that elusive perfection. You know what I mean? You strive for it, you try to reach for it, but knowing that it's elusive. Yeah.
He wouldn't take a second seat to anybody, but he also didn't, try to overpower you or beat you into thinking. He could think of, he would go into a school in a good way, manhandle the head instructor during the seminar, and the students are like, "Whoa, man, that's our guy, and look what he's doing to our guy."
Yeah.
I don't take that same approach. Play rough, yes, but he would literally come in and just wipe the floor with the guy.
Yeah.
And that set that hook. So now the whole school wants to come see him because they just
saw their instructor. Right.
Yeah. And he had that gift because it was never offensive.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm like you. I whether I could or not, I couldn't do that. You know what I mean? Good, bad, and different. We're just different personality. It's just, but not to say that what he did was wrong. I'm judging, but like you, I just,
He was very successful in being assertive like that, and he knew how to set that hook to get you to keep coming back.
No, I mean, he obviously did incredible. I mean, obviously, not just a business mind, but more like what he did and what he created, which we're going to get into. Yeah, absolutely. Maestro Chad, what are your thoughts? What do you do for you, personally? Martially speaking, it could be personal development, individuality, business, anything.
Yeah, I mean, I think I really, one of the things that Remy always said is, on his flyers and at the beginning of his seminars was, you need to make it your own. The things that he was presenting, he didn't want everybody to just copy them and move on. He wanted us to understand it enough that, we could create from what he was teaching us. And when I left the East Coast and I moved out to the West Coast to go to acupuncture school, I knew I wasn't going to get to train with him for a while because he wasn't really doing West Coast stuff at that point in the 90s. But he told me to train with everybody I could out there. And I mean, that's really when I started training, more with Inosanto, and Inosanto was having Edgar in for seminars. So I got to do a bunch of those.
There you go.
And so when I got to see all these other expressions of FMA, I mean, one of the things that I saw was that Remy had taken the basis of a lot of those more advanced progressions, and he had just shown us the most embryonic, most simple expression of it. And then he would allow us to explore, how a lot of those things would become more intermediate, more advanced, on our own. Whereas like the Espati Daga progression that I did with Edgar, I mean, there's so many levels and so many, variables and tangents that there's not as much of exploration right away because you're just trying to get all the technical variations down.
Yeah.
But I liked both expressions, and that really hit home for me, that saying of make it your own. So what I decided to do was make, I was teaching my curriculum, and I call it Arnis because taking the stuff, the foundation that I learned in modern Arnis, and I'm just showing portions of how you take those things to more advanced levels, and that way people can see it in different formats. And some people learn better from one format and some people from another, and that's why I try to overlap those, you know, those progressions in the curriculum, so that they'll get it one way or another. If they don't get it from double stick, they'll get it in the spotty daga. If they don't get it there, they'll get it in the Suntukin, you know, boxing drills. So, just try to put all of that into what I was doing, and really that's all from his suggestions, you know. And funny story, when I finally moved back to the East Coast to Florida and started going to Remi's camps again, he's the one who told me to study with all these people. But when I came back, first time I saw him, he was mad at me for training with all these other people. And we had a discussion the first camp I went to, and the first day he was just kind of a little quiet with me, and then the second day he's like, "No, I remember telling you to go train with them, so we are good." And so, it was like, he was upset with me because he had seen me doing a lot of other things, but then he remembered, "Oh wait, I told you to go do that."
Yeah, right.
He kind of forgave me for it, and then we went on from there. And there were a number of really funny things that happened at those camps after that just always made me laugh, because a couple of my students went with me and they were learning my curriculum, not really the modern Arnis curriculum. And they were at the camp, and Remi came up to them in the middle of training and said, "You are testing this weekend." And they turned around to me and they were like, "Testing for what? Like, what do you mean?"
Testing for him or testing under your blend?
Very particular. He was very particular about that. He would walk up to people and say, "You're testing," and you had to test. Like, if
it wasn't.
You were testing. And so they tested, and they did fine in all of the weapon stuff. But when it got to the anyos that Brian was mentioning on Saturday night, my anyos are completely different than everybody's anyos. My students did our anyos, and one of the black belts in particular got really riled up and went running over to Remi and was like, "Look, they're not doing the right forms." And Remi stopped the whole test, and he called out one of my students and said, "Okay, let me see Anyo 1." And he did Anyo 1, and Remi looked at me and he's like, "Chad, he's not doing the normal movements." And I looked at him and I was like, "Well, we don't really do karate, so I just kind of taught them the applications that you teach in that style of movement." And so he looked again and he watched him do the form again, and he looked at the black belt and said, "He is doing the applications. It is fine." And then he told the black belt to go sit down, and he ended up promoting my students at the camp.
Oh, wow. So it turned out for the best. I mean, wow.
And it was funny because at my last camp, the last live camp that we got to do at the beginning of February, Bruce Chu was there. And in the middle of the camp, he comes running over to me and he said, "Come here, we need to settle something with my students." And he's like, "Chad, do you do the anyos?" And I was like, "Well, I do anyos. I don't know if I would say."
"I don't know if I do the anyos."
And was like, "See," and he looks at all his students. He's like, "Exactly. The anyos were concepts that we're supposed to put into our movement." And so almost everybody who trains modern Arnis's anyos are a little different, so that's the way it was supposed to be. That's part of making the art your own.
It's like under.
So I just always thought that was funny because, it's like everybody thinks the anyos are supposed to be a certain way, but they're really supposed to be the way you translated them.
Or your interpretation. What did you get out of it? What did you know what I mean? Like, exactly. What was emphasized to you personally, and what do you want to convey to your students? You know what I mean?
Yep, for sure.
Yeah. We got a question from Mike. So, Maestro Brian, was it difficult to learn without a written curriculum, if that applied? Was it?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
There's nothing written down at some point, and I'm drawing a blank. Maybe Chad can give you a year. At some point, we finally cornered Professor and we said, Professor, we got to start naming these techniques.
The year,
game put down Silvis.
I tested for black belt.
Spadadaga, the 12 disarms, all those things had names. But the
year I tested for black belt, about 2 hours before the black belt test, someone walked over to me and handed me a piece of paper that I had never, ever seen before in my life. And they said, this is the test. And I looked at it and I was like, what? Like, where did this come from?
You know, catering to the Western mind, names for these techniques. Well, here's the problem. He's on the East Coast, he'll name something center lock. He'll get out to the West Coast, he'll name it Z lock. East meets West, here we are getting ready to throw down again because you're not calling it the same thing we are, and he's over there.
Oh my gosh, so you might have the Taekwondo people angry with the Kempo people who, hey, Greg, Sifu Greg, thank you for jumping on. Tom, too.
So at some point, yes, there was a written curriculum,
but it sounds like it wasn't there in the beginning, came later? Like
later,
much later?
Yeah, but at least throughout the 90s, there was a testing sheet, which was several pages. Yeah. But did you really follow it and did you follow that curriculum as it was written? No.
Okay.
So in the later years, yes, there was. But again, the best way to learn from him was to keep following him.
So the following where you could via seminars, camps. Okay.
I noticed a big difference as young as I was. Once I started going to several camps a year and several seminars, I noticed a huge difference in retention.
Wow. Wow. Oh, as far as the material. Yeah. Okay. Right. No, makes sense. Sure. Okay.
No, he was very spontaneous. Even when we shot the videos in 1998, I guess you're supposed to have a storyboard. You're kind of supposed to have an outline. Yeah. We had a blank paper, gray paper wall behind us that we had put up for the video shoot. There was absolutely no storyline to that video shoot in 1998. None. All off the fly.
Oh, wow.
And that was typical Professor.
That was yeah.
No, yeah, like there were no names for anything. So it's like, I mean, I have names for everything in my curriculum because I made them up. I mean, there were just so many techniques that I was just like, okay, I gotta start calling this something so we can keep track of all of it. And you know, and he was gracious enough to name a lot of stuff for us, like the striking patterns, ocho ocho, and banda banda, rompida, and you know, and so we have all of that. But there's so many skills that he showed us that he was just like, this is number one. This is number two. Yeah. You know, so there's no name for it. It just, you know, whatever he was teaching number two and number three that day, you know, most had to come up with names so we could our students, you know.
Yeah, no, I mean, right, maybe just to make it easier. Yeah, I mean, wow. I think I have another question here. Let's make sure that I do. Okay. With all the curriculum, I'm sorry. Maestro Chad, I recently found one of the old training red books with all the curriculum in it. When did those start coming out?
Ooh. I don't think that was until the 90s either.
So it sounds like the 90s came some pretty big changes. The left hand, some written curriculum.
That red book, if you remember, Dean, I think Phil Antonucci has one of those red books.
I think you know what, now I do recall that. He had something. Where's Phil when you need him? Wait, yeah. You know what, he's got something there.
I haven't seen one of those in forever because the one that we talk about is the pink book, which was published. But that one was early era. I couldn't even tell you.
Because I remember, but you so graciously gave me the book, a copy.
Yeah.
Which I absolutely, which I have right here.
That's worldwide. But this red one, I'm not sure.
You're saying the red one predates the one he has.
Well, that pink book was originally released in the Philippines. He re-released it here in 1997.
Oh, here. Okay, right. Okay.
Red one.
I recall you saying that. Their first re-release here Okay.
In the 80s, somewhere in there, this red book popped up, and I don't know if it's a book or a manual of sorts.
I tell you what, maybe somebody posted something here. Let's see if we can get. Chris says he has the small red book labeled MJKA. Wait.
IMJKA.
IMJKA, but small red book labeled. Is that the one that was Phil Small?
Hold on to that, Chris. I want to look at it.
Yeah. Hey, I just want to borrow that for a second and just do.
Just gonna take some pictures.
You know what? I don't think Phil's was tiny.
No, I don't think it was either. It almost. I thought it was a manual.
Yeah, I'm almost again, far be it from me to know this, but I'm almost thinking maybe their time, because right now Chris just mentioned this is more of a tiny manual.
Yeah.
I don't recall. I thought Phil's was maybe bigger, but could be wrong. Thank you for that, Chris. Thank you. Do we get our kicking Sikaron from Remy?
No, most of that in my curriculum came from Billy Bryant.
Okay.
Yeah.
So okay, but some kicks did come from him, I would assume.
Yeah, I mean he was very fond of a couple kicks, like an inner hook kick. He would do a lot of times with different stick locks. The cross kick or oblique kick. That was there. I mean, almost all of the Filipino instructors that I've had barely ever kick, because they just don't want foot coming up above height and getting cut or getting hit. So,
right.
Their kicks are low line, maybe to the ankles, shin.
Right.
Yeah.
No.
Billy's Filipino system was a little more empty hand oriented, a Quintal Silat system, Cadena de Mano. So we did a lot more empty hand training there. So he had kind of a full progression of Sikaran from, all the way from just like your basic sipa, like hacky sack drills to, all the way up to combination hand and kicks, Pan and Jockman.
Okay. Before we get to demos, I just want to cover again, I know Maestro Brian covered this a little on his first interview, but those maybe who didn't see that one or don't know, just the impact he had on the Western part of the world and how he went about doing it, getting into the traditional schools, which I just, looking back, I just thought was brilliant. And the funny thing is, when I was coming up through the 90s, I was really, I just didn't realize the magnitude of what he was doing and how he was going about it and the effect it would have basically worldwide. From Europe on, I was stuck like reveling on the late 70s group in New York, the Sac Atienzas and all that. I wish I had an outlet to find more about this, just what he was doing. And I tell you, I had no idea he was right in Connecticut at that time. And not in the 80s, even the 90s, I didn't hear about it, shamefully. So, what can we? All right, let's go, Maestro Brian. Like, what? Again, like, maybe he shared this with you guys. His big, business plan. I mean, his somebody alluded to he was a marketing genius, or all the above. Like, what? How do you do it? Like, what was his first school? Like, how do you get in there?
He was an extremely focused, intense individual. And his goal was to make this art the art of the world. And sometimes I think the reason he came to the States is because he saw that as a much more effective gateway than the Philippines.
Sounds like he made the right decision. Yeah.
And at first, he's traveling by bus to get around to these seminars. Eventually, he's flying. But anybody that's interested, I know he stormed into a few schools on the West Coast at first in the 70s and said, you must see this. And he's a pretty convincing guy. And then the picture on the cover of that front book is Madison Square Garden with Roland Dantes. So he's going to do a demo. And what was that guy's name, Chad? Aaron, the promoter at Garden. Oh my God. Aaron Banks, maybe?
I think Aaron Banks, yeah.
So Professor is waiting for hours to meet this guy, Aaron Banks, to do that demo. So, you know, Professor's not used to Western business. He's getting pissed because the hours are going by. So he literally storms into Aaron's office and basically demands and tells him, you know, I'm doing this demo. The Professor's not the kind of guy you're going to say no to. He'd catch a hold of anybody he could. You know, I come do a seminar and I'll take care of it. And he knew how to take care of the host. And it just started spreading by word of mouth. I can tell you in the 90s when I was holding my seminars with my training partner, Tony Silverio, we were still tri-folding pieces of paper and flyers, stuffing them in envelopes because the internet really was just getting warmed up in the early 90s to mid 90s.
Yeah.
I mean, and
it was mail. I remember like getting stuff from Ron way back in the 90s, but it was mail. Yeah.
So marketing, from where I stood, again, being very young, it was more about getting people excited and kind of getting them motivated and getting them to talk up the seminar at their school, which led to a regional camp, and it became word of mouth. And again, you look in Black Belt magazine throughout the 80s and 90s under Black Belt Times, because that section was broken up throughout the magazine. Remy Presas' name is everywhere.
No, I remember the few issues I saw and stands and what have you, and back, whether it was front, back, middle. I mean, he was definitely a force.
There were 20 events in Black Belt magazine. Remy was doing 15 of them.
Yeah. I mean, he was. I mean, there's no doubt that he was a force in there. Brian, was there really a feud between the brothers? Brian, just email me, private PM me, buddy, on that, and or you can PM one of the maestros here, and they'll kind of give you the 411 on that, and we'll leave it at that. Maestro Chad, what's your what say you on the as far as his impact, doing it through the traditional schools and what have you, which obviously was brilliant and successful.
Yeah, I don't think he told any of us about his plan because I think he was formulating it on the fly, and he was just building connections as he went. And realistically, I mean, in the karate community, it was hard because as soon as he had one school, that school, they all of a sudden be calling in the neighborhood saying, "Hey, this, this awesome seminar, you guys should all." He would have 3 different schools at that seminar, and then he would have an extra set next weekend. One of those other schools would run a seminar at their place. So, I mean, like I said, I think he was brilliant the way he did it. I mean, he was in, he found the right niche. He knew, who was already dedicated, who was already interested in martial arts, and who would jump at the chance to add skill sets that he had going on, because there wasn't anybody in martial arts at that time that could ignore the skill sets that Remy was bringing to the table. So anybody wanted some of that, and so if they could figure out a way, and he was so perfect, make it, not just to make it your own, but he would also say it's the art within your art. And so he was giving them permission to keep doing the art that they've always practiced, but just to put modern art
without trampling on it or trying to do a hostile takeover.
He allowed the comfort and security to continue doing the art that they had started with, and just add the modern Arnis into what they were doing, which was, again, a brilliant thing, because they weren't going to stop what they were doing, but they certainly would add, and that's what happened.
I think, like you guys meant, I think that was the key thing. Don't change what you're doing. I'm not here to kind of compromise that, but I just want to give you something to add. And man, I think that was the key thing, because had he done it any other way, not sure, he would have, obviously had the impact he has, obviously. But so he must have been, obviously, like you guys kind of allude to without saying it, he was a smooth operator, it sounds like, anyways,
Very smooth. And,
Very charismatic.
You get a seminar of him teaching 50 people, you can bet somebody else is going to come up to him by the end of the seminar and say, hey, would you come do a seminar with me?
Yep.
3 hours.
Yeah, right. So so that sells. I mean, and then obviously word of mouth, and before you know it, man, you got the new hot potato. You know what I mean?
He had products too. So everybody who was at those seminars and camps were buying his book from O'Hara. They were buying.
That's also.
They were buying whatever they could get their hands on.
No, I mean, obviously, well done. I mean, the way. I mean, it's pretty much validated. I mean, it's. You can't deny, what's going on. All right, I'm ready for demos. So if that sounds okay with you guys, I got one from Brian. He sent. Maestro Chad, what do you got going on? What works for you?
Yeah, you can show the clip that you had showed earlier, and also have a little setup here that I can show some stuff live if you want to.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Let's just find out where that went. Yeah, absolutely. Let's get that. I don't know why it won't. I'm gonna have to re-get that. You know what? Let's show Bryce first. I'm gonna have to pull that one up again sometime. But all right, folks. This is something Maestro Brian sent to me, so we're gonna check it out together, and and then we can kind of ask some questions if need be.
Okay, folks. There's something I call the crossroads.
There's something I call the crossroads. If I go after Andy and we go to here, there's a lot of things going on from here. So we're going to demo a few things, not necessarily at even 3/4 speed, but just to show how much potential is at this juncture. Keep in mind that my stick is vertical.
As soon as I go
to turn this, or if Andy started, he came at me and I went back at him. Now my cane is horizontal. That lends itself to a couple different things that can happen. But let's roll with the premise that my cane is vertical. I have an empty hand. He has an empty hand. We each have a weapon.
There's so many different
things that can happen from here. I can capture the stick. I can raise this. Now I just wait for him to make a move or not. He can get hit with the stick. He can get hit with the puño. If I go after him, he knows the counter. He does this. Okay, this is neutralized. This is trap. And I go after him again. I go from here. I have an equal strike. Either way, doesn't matter. I gotta strike the arm.
Lots of
potential from here. If he goes after this, I can hook this and at least get this back down. It's not a lock, but if I bring it down the other way from here, that is a lock.
So
even from right from here, raising
lots of stuff going
on.
Even right from here,
I punch. If you're a striker, this gets this goes straight in.
You go to the belly.
You go to the belly. You turn this. You go to the head. You can still go to the belly from here. Lots of different opportunities.
Right from here.
Lots of different opportunities. Well, here.
The other thing is
coming in with the puño. Here. You get hit. This gets hit. This gets locked.
Or I come after
the other side. Here. This is an unequal strike. This is locked. Or maybe I thread this and I pass this over here. This goes here. This is strike. This is strike. This is strike. This is hook. This is armbar.
Okay. So many different
things we can do here. We can switch hands.
I can thrust.
I can strike.
Turn this and lock this down.
So many different things right from this one.
Past this.
There's both. I go to here. There's both.
I have center lock.
I can beat this. Here again, we're shooting.
Everything
comes off of this one junction.
Okay. If it's a little higher,
I'll go underneath and I'll hit. If
it's a little lower,
maybe I'll come in and I'm not going to wait to this. I'm going right after this one. I go from here, pull this and strike.
Or I cut this
And I hit, and then I have lock.
Okay.
So once in a while, I'll get to here, a couple hours at a time, just working everything off this, what I call crossroads. It's just a thing I came up with. Threading, going underneath it, fading underneath it, going high, coming across, unlocks and grabs this.
Okay.
Okay. Bringing this across, changing hand, hooking, twisting, armbar.
So many.
So many.
Okay. So
Okay.
you get time.
So you get time, get to here.
And play. You got this end of the stick.
You
You have the other end of the stick.
have the other end.
This is a little lower.
If this is a little lower, I roll this and I hook this. This is shock. This is strip.
Or maybe I roll right
Or
over.
maybe I roll right over. I want to get on the inside of it so I can go in here.
So many.
So many.
All right from this one position.
All right from this one position.
We don't even have it. We don't even get to this side.
We didn't even get to this side.
All from here.
There's months of material
This one,
right at this one. Like I said, this juncture or crossroads. Okay.
Injecting.
So injecting, passing this out of the way. You can neutralize this. Bait this. Rip this. There's here. There's nothing. So many. Take what you have, apply it to that position. Doesn't matter what your system.
All the same.
All the same.
We all have different emphasis,
We all
different areas.
different emphasis, different areas. But this is
months-long
a months-long
focal point.
focal point. Okay? Thank you.
Awesome.
Nice.
Awesome. You did a move there, pluma-like. I like that. We're kind of.
Yep.
You guys call it something different, or?
Arco.
Neat. No, awesome. Okay. And here we got Maestro, who just did this chat sounds like very recent.
Yeah.
Right, Saltic,
Sombrata
from
from
Brown.
Brown.
Mike comes in overhead, so I have a umbrella. I have a shallow. I have a Saltic from the outside. I have a Saltic from the inside. And then work and you're all those. Going back. One. You like that one? Doesn't matter if we go other hand. Doesn't change anything. He's right. I'm left. I'm working my forward. He's working my forward. Back. Forward. Back.
Awesome. That was nice. So, okay, let's start with Maestro Bry, the Crossroads. That's clever. I thought that was a catchy, clever name for that. Where was the influence there? What could you?
Again, it kind of comes back to him preaching the term connection. For the whole time I was training underneath him, he would show application of block check counter or trapping hands, but there would be an infinite amount of variables or applications off of it. So, they throw a forehand strike, you block force to force, and then you strike and throw an abanico strike. Well, then there's 6 different disarms. Start over each time, but then there's 6 disarms. Then you get to the number 2 strike, the backhand. Same thing, 6 more disarms, and yet he says this is just abanico corto application. He had a term or drill, but then he had a lot more depth behind it. Yeah. So writing my own curriculum, which was interesting, I said, man, there's so many things we can do off that one particular point.
Yeah. Like you chose to experiment, you know what I mean?
And there's a couple different things, and at some point when this pandemic has passed us, I'd love to get together, and I'll just show you the affect of these connections, meaning he linked so many different things together.
Yeah,
and it's simply that one point or those sticks cross. Just on that one side, I'm like, oh my God, there's so many things going on,
No, we definitely have to get together when this nightmare ends. Yeah, I mean, we're too close, by,
Absolutely.
not to have an official meet and greet and over some eats or what have you. You know what I mean? I'm looking forward to it, and I can't see this is going to be lingering around. But worst case, November, when election's over.
Yeah, the day after, we know it's over. I mean, I'm working here out of the house. I don't know how, whenever you're ready, you're comfortable, we can stay outside, we'll go somewhere.
Oh my God! You know what? I consider it done because I've been training with Chris and everybody else, and
let's just do it.
Yeah, I have. Yeah, not that I've been, reckless, but I've been definitely training. Yeah.
I've been low profile this whole time, and we're going to keep it that way.
I mean, enough.
We're doing fine.
I'm just like, you know what? I waited long. Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah, what we can do is, when we get done with this, let's exchange. Absolutely, though. I know for sure I don't got much going on next week, whatever. So
Done.
Yeah.
Good.
Definitely.
All
So,
right.
Maestro Chad. We didn't lose you, did we? Okay. Oh, good. No, we didn't. Okay. What do you got for us?
All right, I'm just going to show a little bit of progression. So just from Rimi's basic flow, which is Cruzada, basic Cruzada. So you got your low, high,
All right. Okay.
low, high, high. And then I'm going to feed more Cruzada progression. 1, and Cruzada progression with the strike.
All right. Awesome.
Okay.
Mikey, jump up. And then we go to a later drill in the Spotty Daga, the Big Itama. So Mike feeds 1. I'll feed nice. And if I don't have a knife, it doesn't change much. And if I don't have a stick, it doesn't change much. Because again, we should translate everything.
Sweet.
One of the striking patterns that Remy used to talk about was Abanico Dobleta. So Mike feeds a 1 and do it kind of slow, 2 and 9. A little faster this time. 1, 2, and a 9. On Mikey's side.
Right on.
Nice. Go ahead, empty hand. From Wally, we have one of our flows.
Oh, a small circle? Okay. Fun lock. Wheel throw.
And then we take it into counter locks, where I try to lock. I counter lock. And that's a good bit of what we got going on.
Chad, that was excellent. Thank you so much. And please, thank you. Were those your family members?
That was my wife, Carmen, and one of my black belts, Mike.
Oh, please thank them for me. Please.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, no. And Bob, yes, Bob Fulmore, that was awesome. Yes, it was. Carmen, good stuff. Yes. Brian, nice spotty dagger. Yes. Hey, Paul. Make sure I'm not missing anybody here. I think I got everybody. Okay. That, both of you, thank you so much. I mean, I love the whole thing of the crossroads and just self-explain, exploration, right? Get something, see what you can come up with, right? I mean, I don't know. So I think, not to get off topic and to a whole, because that could be a show in itself, so to speak, which I got coming up with a few other guys, like how do students getting lost and, like, who to say that you can't come up with stuff? You know what I mean? Like, up here is your biggest asset. Like, I mean, use it. Just, like I can't, you know what I mean? Like, and obviously you guys have, obviously a good example of that. Like, you're, you know what I mean? Like you're absolutely using your own exploration. You're coming up with your own creativity stuff, adding to it, what have you, for your students or what works for them, via body types or what have you. So I think that's fantastic.
That was a directive from the old man, so not much we can do about that. We got to follow it.
Yeah, right. So obviously, it sounds like he was very encouraging of that mindset. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Just before we go, I just want to get, okay, so just for viewers who might want to, like, obviously follow up with you guys, so Brian Z, is that the YouTube channel? Am I correct there?
Yes.
Brian Z, and then I got Progressive Arnis CC for you, sir? Okay. All right, so those are you. So those, I'm going to put those down as well, just for people that can see them and subscribe and all that. I just want to make sure I was correct in having them. And obviously, a good way to get a hold of you guys would be via here, Messenger, Facebook.
Facebook's good. I'm on Facebook as Chad Bailey. I'm on Instagram as ChadB305. So any of those is fine.
Okay. And Maestro Brian, how about you?
Facebook by Brian Zawolinsky. And by all means, if there's a place you want to put up the website or the cell, it doesn't matter.
Okay. Should be the website.
Yeah. theartwithinyourart.com.
www. All one word, art.
theartwithinyourart.com.
Okay, the art within your art. Neat. Okay. Within your art.com. Okay.
And
absolutely.
Cell phone and whatnot there. But, Facebook, Messenger, it's all good.
Okay. The art within your art. I like that. The art within your art. Huh. All right. I want to thank you both so much. Not only was this informative and just, especially the stuff on the camps and all that, I thought that was some fascinating content. I thought that was great. Just 4 days. Wow. And then your individual perspectives on how, what he did for you each individually speaking, as far as your journey, what he instilled in you and what you're trying to carry out and all that. I can easily do a part 2 with you guys some months. I have a whole other plethora of questions. If you guys would dig that, consider it done.
God willing, Chad will come up in April.
That would be nice.
1 year. We don't have a date yet, but God willing, he will come up for April.
No, that'd be great. I could see an interview right on the spot there with both of you right there, man. We'll get everything set up.
They won't let me fly. I'll drive up, Brian.
Yeah. I'm telling you, God willing, this will be a nightmare like behind us. I cannot foresee this going beyond fall. Oh, I don't. Yeah. I don't want to hear those. I don't want to hear those. I don't want to hear those words. Yeah. But
thank you for all you're doing, Dean. You're doing a great job.
Thank you so much.
I tell you, the best stuff I get from here is when the people say that, they love what's happening, what I'm doing for the community. You know what I mean? Like, that's like the best compliment. Because obviously, doing it's free, just trying to bring people together, more exposure to community, maybe. And I tell you, this is one of those FMA discussions where I actually learn. Like, I love those ones where I actually learn, about styles that I haven't tried or done, and so yeah. So I really appreciate that, guys.
Everyone that we've lost, all these masters, they're gone. So we got to stay together and keep getting together and cross training, because that's how we all learn.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Like, I know. It's like, yeah.
What we're doing is providing a really good catalyst for people to get together and see who else out there And from this, we can spawn some regional workouts. And again, it's all about the training. It's not about money or fame. And there's a whole bunch of guys out there and girls that need that exposure because they're going to be the next generation of masters.
No, I know. I tell you, we all know, man. You're doing this for the money, man.
Hey, Dean, before I forget, I got a camp at the end of the month, a virtual camp, August 28, 29, and 30. So anybody who's interested in 3 days of training, we're going to train a lot of hours on those 3 days.
All right, right on. But yeah, by all means, I'm gonna get this. So, but yeah, I'm definitely gonna put down your guys' stuff. Again, what I'm gonna do is like download the YouTube, and I'll definitely, post a YouTube version on your guys' wall. Yeah. But again, I want to thank you both so much for doing this. I truly appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, and from afar, Maestro Chad. We got a virtual fist bump. But I salute both of you guys. Thank you.
Same here. Stay safe.
Brian, yes, be in touch. I'll definitely send you a message. Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
All right, guys. Have a good night. Take care. Thank you again.
Good night.
All right. Okay, thank you for all those tuned in and the questions, all that. That was good. Those demos were pretty good. Next week, we're going to finish part 2 on our modern Arnis. We're going to have Frank also, who's got a bunch of demos with his students, and I believe that's going to be Monday night. I'll definitely confirm that by Saturday and all that. But if you haven't, please hit like and subscribe to FMA Discussion on YouTube, and I will see you guys, which I believe the next episode will be Monday. Thank you so much.